Hello everyone, welcome to the TriStar Gym channel. Today's episode we're breaking down the Brock Lesnar Mark Hunt fight. Thank you all for your comments and questions. We got a ton of comments and questions this time around, so I'm really happy. I think it's the most comments and questions we've ever had. So I'm gonna get started right away. Special thank you as always to Quest Nutrition and Reebok. Thank you very much for making this channel happen. And let's get started with the first question. You guys asked me a bunch. So, like always, I'm going to be answering and commenting on the most liked and upvoted on Reddit. Okay, so here we go. First one is from Joseph THDS. How much of a difference do you think it would make if Brock Lesnar trained at a recognized camp like TriStar, aka, etc., instead of training in his barn? Yeah, definitely training by yourself, isolated. It's not a good look. You don't know what else is out there. It's good to have a gym where fighters are coming in on a regular basis, fighters from different places, different skills, different looks. At least for him, I hope he's bringing in a guy who looks like Mark Hunt to spar with. And I know he has a very short notice, but I would at least do 2 or 3 sparrings at least minimum. I mean, he's been out for a few years now, so I hope he was wise enough to bring in somebody that really looks like Mark Hunt, that moves like Mark Hunt, and kind of test out where he's at. You know, not just spar with guys that he's comfortable with sparring with, guys that he's sparred with a long time. When you spar with somebody for a long time over and over again, the sparring gets very stale. You know, sometimes I have sparring partners in the gym. I've been sparring with them for 10 years. For me, sparring with them now, it's almost useless. And the reason why I say that is because they know exactly what I'm gonna do, and I know exactly what they're gonna do. So it makes it for a very stale sparring. There's no adaptation. There's no figuring things out. There's no, you're not using the noodle as much. You know, you're not using your head as much. You kind of already have this beat that you've developed together. So sometimes I see two sparring partners spar with each other, and it's very tight. And then a new guy comes in, and those same two sparring partners, one of them will have a really easy time with the new guy, and one of them will have a really hard time with the new guy. And you would think that those two sparring partners were at the same level when they're really not. Why they're not? Because they know each other's tricks so well that they can neutralize each other. So you can have somebody who's a world champion have a hard time with a sparring partner of his that's not doing very well in the professional circuit. Why? Because they know each other's games so intimately. They have that inside information that they can kind of react faster to their attacks. So I'm a big believer in sparring a variety of levels. And if you're training in your barn, you're not getting that, you know. But Rock Game's plan is going to be simple, right? He's going in there to double leg Mark Hunt. If he doesn't get the double leg, he's dead. And if he gets the double leg, Mark Hunt's dead. So it might not be as important for Brock because he's really going to do one thing only. You know, he doesn't have another game plan. But he's got to try it out on guys who can react like Hunt. So that's my opinion. I agree with you. I think training in bigger camps would do him some good. Next one here is from Totally Not a Troll. In your opinion, how good is Mark Hunt's takedown defense? And will he be able to defend Lesnar's takedown? Love you for us. Love you too, buddy. Thank you. I think he can defend Brock's takedowns after round one. After round 1 and 2, I think he could start to defend the takedown. I think he's going to get taken down in round one. If you guys look at his fight with Miocic, you know, Miocic caught him with a high crotch. So basically a one leg, kind of, a lot of people call it single leg. It's really high crotch, single leg with the head on the outside. And he dumped him easily. You know, he ran the pipe, dumped him on his butt very easily. And Brock's takedowns are more ferocious. You know, he's more experienced of a wrestler. And I think he will get to the leg. And when he gets to the leg, it's gonna be easy. It's just gonna be an easy takedown for Brock. You know, and I know Brock hasn't fought in a long time, and it's kind of crazy for me to say that, but don't forget Brock has I think he has like two or three. I think it's 300 wrestling matches. You know, in his youth. You know, he's wrestled a lot. So when you're wrestling from such a young age, if you're wrestling from such a young age, it's like Mayweather. You know, he could fight for a world title, take 2 years off, come back, train for 3 months, and beat another world champion easily. Why? He's been boxing since he can walk. You know, his skills are hardwired in his brain. This is not a superficial type of learning. This is a deep instinctual type of learning. It's like walking for them. You know, it's like riding their bike. You know, you did it when you were really young. You will never forget. It's a part of you. It's hardwired in your brain. And Brock Lesnar is definitely there. So, is he gonna get the takedown? I'm thinking yes. So that's my answer to you. Next one here. This one is from Mr. Tsunami. I haven't seen anybody talk about ring rust. Everybody was talking about it when John Jones was fighting OSP, but Brock hasn't fought in MMA in almost 5 years. Hunt has fought 9 times in the same time frame. how much of this is going to matter? Well, it's going to matter, I think, because he hasn't had time to prepare. I'm not so worried that he hasn't fought in 5 years. Like I said, he's been wrestling since he's so young. But my opinion is that his cardio is going to be lacking. So if he doesn't get the takedown easy, let's say something goes wrong with the takedowns, and he's got to work hard in round number 1, he's going to gas out pretty fast, in my opinion. Why? Because there's no way he put in the rounds that he needs to get an MMA shape. You know, his striking conditioning is going to be very poor. His wrestling conditioning is going to be good. It's not going to be great. You know, I know he's been doing WWE and stuff like that, but that cardio, that energy system is totally different than what you need for an MMA fight. So this becomes a heated battle. Look for Brock to fade. So that's my opinion on that. This one is from Stool Kid. Do you think Hunt will take a page of Reem's book, out of Reem's book? Essentially, Reem threatened with uppercuts and knees. Brock couldn't just shoot. He also kept his hands low to defend takedowns and felt Brock was not a threat on the feet. Then he measured distance and set up the body shots with the head shots and vice versa. So you're asking me, will Hunt be able to do what Overeem did? Well, no, I don't think so. You know, if you remember correctly, if you remember watching that fight, Reem had his hands low, but Reem did something very peculiar in that fight. He initiated the clinch with Brock. So he didn't punch Brock from the outside. He didn't try to, to play the sniper game, touch and go. He didn't try to play cat and mouse. He didn't try to hit him and run. No, that's not what he did. He kind of clinched Brock. He initiated the clinch. And you're right, he kept his hands low. He got those underhooks and he started to knee Brock. So instead of looking for punches, he clinched Brock and he kneed him. Now, when you're gonna do a game like that, when you're gonna tie a guy up and you're gonna knee him, usually, when I say usually, I mean like 99% of the time, you gotta be the taller guy or as tall. Reem has the height, he has the height to play that game. For Hunt to initiate the clinch and knee Brock would be disaster. One, Brock will beat him to the underhook, and two, Brock will knee tap him. Brock will snap him down. Brock will suplex him. Brock will pick him up. Brock will trip him. Brock will get to a trip. Brock is a seasoned wrestler. Tying up with Brock for Hunt is a mistake, in my opinion. It worked for Reem. Reem was stronger than Brock, or as strong at least. Hunt is not as athletic as Brock Lesnar. Now remember, Reem got busted for PEDs in that fight. Now, if I remember correctly, don't quote me on this, I think it was 16-1 or 15-1. That's a monstrous amount of PEDs. Okay, that's a monstrous amount. And if I remember, his excuse correctly was that he was on ibuprofen, and the ibuprofen was laced with PEDs, and he didn't know. Now, I'm no expert, okay? I'm no expert on PEDs, but I think if you all remember what Reem used to look like when he was fighting in Japan and on all those fights he did in the past, and what he looks like now, there's no way horse meat made that transition. There's no way, it was ibuprofens accidentally laced with PEDs. I think it's a bit of an insult to people's intelligence, and I think if you get caught on PEDs, the honorable thing to do is to admit it and excuse yourself and apologize, at the very least. He was on a lot of juice, put it too simply, and he could clinch with Brock. I don't think Mark Hunt's going to be on the juice. There's a lot of testing. He doesn't look like he's on the juice. I think he's a natural puncher. I think he's a very sophisticated puncher. He's a very skilled puncher. His timing is great, etc. But he doesn't have the torque to clinch with a Brock Lesnar. If he clinches with Brock, it's going to go south for him real quick. Reem was able to do it because he was a taller man, or as tall, I should say, roughly as tall, much taller than Hunt, and he was on a lot of juice. He could wrestle with Brock. He could lock up with Brock. He has that power. Now, when you're 16-1, I've never been 16-1. Okay, I've never done any PEDs in my life, but I'm assuming that if I was 16-1, I could clinch with anybody in the world my size and throw them on their head quite easily. That's my personal opinion. But again, I've never done those kind of things, but I assume that that's a huge edge. And I've wrestled guys on PEDs. I know guys who've told me they're on PEDs and I've wrestled them. It makes a huge difference. It makes a monstrous difference. Hunt will not have that advantage. That's just my opinion. Just a broke boy. Brock Lesnar will have almost 10-inch reach advantage in this fight. How important do you think it will be for Brock to utilize his reach in order to initiate level changes as Hunt works to close the distance? Now, if it came down to striking, I would say it's almost useless, his reach. Why? Because Hunt can deal with his reach all night long. He has the speed. He has the movement on Brock when it comes to striking. But you're right. He'll be able to use it to keep a distance from Hunt and shoot from further out. Of course, you have a longer reach. You can shoot from slightly further out. And the longer the reach, the further out you can shoot. Brock Lesnar's penetration shot is so powerful. So now he can shoot from very far and he can penetrate very deeply. I see him getting the takedown. I think the reach advantage is going to work in that instance because when Hunt comes to close the distance to hit him, because Hunt can't really hit him from the outside, when he closes the distance, Brock's going to shoot. So you're right. In that instance, it's going to help Brock and it's going to hurt Hunt. Not for the striking, but mostly for Hunt having to close the distance is going to kind of close the distance for Brock's doubles. So yes, it will definitely help. The frame, the athleticism, that's all on Brock's side. He's got 100% advantage there. GSP is a lizard. This guy's becoming really popular. Mr. Lizard, what is your opinion on Brock receiving a waiver on the 4-month USADA rule? Yes, this is a very intriguing element to the fight. Now, a lot of people, when they heard this, they got really upset. They were like, oh, that means Brock's allowed to use steroids. I just read an article on it because when I wanted to do this video, I wanted to be sure that I kind of know, at least had an idea of what I'm talking about here. From what I understood from the article I read, is that if you come out of retirement, if you retire today, if I tell you UFC I'm retired, and then next year I want to fight again, I got to tell them 4 months before I want to fight. So 4 months before I want to do my next fight, I got to warn UFC and USADA, and they have the right to start testing me 4 months out before my next fight. Now, Brock signed the fight within that 4 months. So they had to waive that rule for him to fight. That he had to get. It's not that he can do steroids 4 months before, and whatever you did 4 months before, we're not going to look at that. We're only going to look at your testing from now to the fight. That's what I initially thought it meant when I first heard it. That he got a 4-month waiver. What does that mean, 4-month waiver? That you can do whatever you did in those 4 months, doesn't matter? No, it's that we're not going to make you wait 4 months to fight. That's what it said. So if I'm wrong, please correct me in the comments. I'm not 100% sure that's all there is to it. There might be more. So if you guys do know more about this, please do leave a comment in the comment section and clarify it. From what I understood, he doesn't have to wait 4 months to fight. That was only it. Now, has Brock ever done steroids? He comes from football. He comes from WWE, two sports that we know are very, known for PEDs. Now, if Brock got tested tomorrow and he was positive for PEDs, I personally wouldn't fall out of my chair in shock. Okay, I wouldn't fall over and disbelief. I wouldn't be, shocked to hear this news. It would be, it wouldn't be surprising even to me. However, he's never been, to my knowledge, he's never been caught on steroids. He's huge, he's ripped, yes, but this is not impossible. It's not genetically impossible. Some people are that big and strong. Do I suspect he's done steroids? I suspect a lot of guys do steroids, but I'll never point the finger at somebody without proof. So I'm not going to point the finger at Brock here. Is he on PEDs? I wouldn't fall out of my chair if he was. I'm not crazy to say that I'm 100% sure he's not on PEDs, but he's never been busted. And the 4-month waiver, yeah, for sure. If he's been doing drugs, if he's been doing PEDs for the last few months and he's just stopping now for his fight, that's going to hurt Hunt. That's going to hurt Hunt big time. But if Brock goes to the fight and he's weak and scrawny and not explosive, the chances of Hunt winning the fight, I think, are going to be 80-20, 90-10. But if he shows up like the classic Brock, I'm giving it like 70-30 for Brock. 70-30 for Brock in the first 2 rounds. And then 50-50 in round number 3. And I would go 60-40 round number 4. 70-30 round number 5. The later the fight goes, the better it is for Hunt. That means he's going to be timing those shots. He's got to be slowing Brock down. He's got to be connecting on Brock's chin. He has more time to connect on the chin. He'll win that fight. But I think the fight's going to be done quite early. I think the takedown's going to happen early. Brock's either going to miss big or win big. And I think he's going to win big. I'm thinking he's going to win big. So the 4-month USADA rule for me, I don't think it's going to make a difference. I think we're still going to see this classic Brock, power, explosive, big, strong, just less cardio than usual. Less cardio than usual. Why? He hasn't had the time to put in the rounds. He's a short notice fight, and I don't think he can put up the cardio. I don't think he get cardio in place for this fight in time. This one's from Haguru95. Do you think that Mark Hunt's takedown defense and ability to stand up from the bottom has developed enough to keep this fight standing? No, he will not be able to stand up from under Brock. When has Hunt showed some technical stand-ups? Never. It's always been a power move. He won't overpower Brock. He won't overpower Brock. So if Brock gets him down to the ground, unless the time runs out and saves Hunt, Hunt's in a lot of trouble. He's going to get tied up in a pretzel and he's going to get beat down. Next one here. This is from the High Dane. Who has the better cardio in your opinion? Well, striking, this is an easy one. Striking cardio, it's going to be Hunt. Hunt's going to be able to punch all night long. He'll never get tired of punching. Clinching and wrestling, it's going to be Brock. Now, again, Brock's taking this fight on short notice. So if he starts to gas in the wrestling, if he starts to gas in the clinching, it wouldn't surprise me either, because there's no way he could put in the rounds. There's no way he can put in the rounds. He didn't have a 2 or 3 month training camp. So I don't know. Is he naturally good at his cardio? I'm not too worried about it, to be honest with you, because I don't think it's going to be hard takedowns. I don't think these takedowns are going to be super difficult. Now, I might get surprised by Hunt, but I have a feeling he's going to get Brock down. He's going to get Hunt down quite comfortably. And when he gets him down, he's going to be able to recoup on top. He's going to go to town on Hunt, and it's just going to be easy, you know. Try to remember that Randy Couture couldn't get up from the bottom, you know. Randy Couture couldn't get up from the bottom. Frank Mir couldn't get up from the bottom. It's not an easy man to get up from under. Brock Lesnar knows what he's doing on the ground. Next question here. This one is from William H. Gacy. Comments of Brock's ability to keep it on the ground versus Hunt's ability to get back up. I watched a breakdown of Brock out grappling Mir in the second fight. I walked through the Vanilla Gorilla, was able to pin and hold Mir's arm. This opened up Mir's defense. Yes, I remember that fight beautifully. Yes, that was a phenomenal fight. And a lot of people think that because you come from wrestling, you don't know anything on the ground. That's a myth. That's such a horrible myth. In wrestling, we have ground wrestling. Wrestlers fight on the ground as well. Now, especially American wrestlers, I prefer the style of American wrestling. You know, in Canada, we have freestyle wrestling, where you're not allowed to put your back on the mat or expose your back on the mat. There's no points for escapes, etc. I like the American wrestling. Why? Because it's more functional for MMA. It's more MMA situations. You know, escaping up to your feet, holding the guy down. You have to ride the guy for a certain period of time. You're allowed to roll on your back, etc. These are more jiu-jitsu elements. So Brock Lesnar has done a lot of jiu-jitsu. Even though it was called wrestling, a lot of those elements exist in jiu-jitsu. What he did to Frank Mir on the ground is some beautiful wrestling. And these are techniques we use in jiu-jitsu as well. So Brock Lesnar's top game is equivalent to a black belt's. No questions asked. No questions asked. His bottom game, maybe not. Wrestlers don't have a great bottom game. That's very unique to jiu-jitsu. Not in American styles of wrestling, the collegiate and all that. They don't grapple off their back. So no, they don't have great ground games. But everything else they have. Everything else. Okay? Maybe take out the submissions. When it comes to control and the top position, they got it all. So yes, he will keep Hunt down on the ground comfortably. Comfortably. I don't think it would be a problem. Next here, this one's from RC7151. There were rumors before that Brock's training partners were not allowed to hit him hard during sparring, and that this caused him to have a slow progression in the striking game. How would you train a beginner to get comfortable in the striking exchange? You know what? I've heard the same thing from a very, very reliable source, that his sparring partners were told not to hit him to the face or go very gentle. And yes, that can definitely slow down your game. But the thing is, Brock Lesnar doesn't go in a fight thinking he's gonna strike. He's gonna throw 1 or 2 punches, and he's gonna dive into the legs. If he doesn't get you down, it's a problem for him. Now, you're asking me, how do you get a beginner to get comfortable? He's got to spar with somebody he trusts. You know, you can't just beat the hell out of a beginner and expect him to keep coming back the next day. You can really seriously concuss somebody. You can hurt somebody. And, you know, you could end their career, their striking career, very early. I think what Brock needs to do is to allow sparring partners to hit him on the chin. But sparring partners that trust, that he has a trust, you know, they're not going to try to hurt him. They're going to try to teach him. So I'm a big believer in teaching and not punishing people in practice. It's not about punishing you. It's about teaching you. So if Brock had partners he could trust, you know, I think he could waive that rule. But he probably has guys he just doesn't trust. So he seems to me like a guy who doesn't trust anybody. You know, he's very secluded. He does his own thing. Doesn't let anybody inside his bubble too much. He seems like a very, very private person. I remember them saying he didn't want to do like those countdowns and all those stuff. You know, he gave very little limited access. He's a very private guy, and I think private people have a hard time trusting others. And without trust, you can't have a good sparring. That's my opinion. A good sparring, you need trust. Next one here. This one is from I'm Sparks. How important do you think it will be for Mark Hunt to utilize good movement and footwork in this fight? We've seen some fights where Mark Hunt is very flat-footed, Bigfoot and Roy Nelson fights, for example. I can't help but think that if he stands flat-footed versus Brock, he's gonna be taken down, with some explosive takedown. And yes, I agree with you. He's got to be the perfect matador. If he's not, the perfect matador, he's gonna get taken down real easy, either single leg or double leg. It's just no stopping that takedown. For Mark's level of experience in wrestling, he won't stop if he won't be able to stop a Lesnar takedown if Lesnar has a grip on the legs. Almost any grip, he'll get the takedown. Hunt needs to dance. He needs to be elusive. He needs to be the perfect matador. It remains to be seen. I don't think he'll be able to stop the first few doubles. He's gonna have to survive the first few doubles, take it in later rounds, and then play the matador. I agree with you. If he's flat-footed, he's gonna lose. Wester by PL. For us, could you look at Mark Hunt's body shots and Brock Lesnar's ability to take damage to the body? Hunt is known for the head KO, but how do you rate his body work? I can't really remember his body shots. He's a shorter guy. He should be going to the body, but to go to the body, you got to get really close. Now, when Brock got hit hard to the body, it was a kick. If you remember Overeem, he landed a beautiful punch. He did land a beautiful punch on Brock. But do you remember when he landed that punch? He pushed Brock up to the fence. Overeem pushed Brock up to the fence. Now, remember, he's got that size and strength. And then he punched him to the body. And as Brock was running along the fence, he kicked him to the liver. He kicked him really hard to the liver. And that just opened up a barrage of strikes. But that's how he broke Brock. He broke Brock, you're right, with a body punch. But the body kicks what really put the nail in the coffin. So can Mark Hunt land the body shot? Yes, but he'll get taken down if he tries to get that close. He'll get tied up. To hit a guy to the body, you gotta kind of have him up against the fence. It makes it a lot easier because they can't step back out of range. Overeem did it. Can Hunt push Brock to the fence? I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Remember, Overeem was bigger, stronger, and at least as athletic as Brock. I don't think that's the same situation for Hunt. So body shots, not so likely. Not so likely. I would be surprised if Hunt can consistently land body shots. If he kicks to the body, Brock's going to take him down. My opinion. H. Kickerman, I guarantee Hunt will knock him out. I guarantee Hunt will knock him out first round. I will eat my cat shit on video if he doesn't. H. Kickerman, I guarantee Hunt will knock him out in the first round. I will eat my cat shit on video if he doesn't. H. Kickerman, I'm going to hold you to this. I will hold you to this. H. Kickerman, guys, find him on Reddit. He had 7 points 2 days ago. Wrote this comment. Find him. H. Kickerman, you're going to lose this bet, my friend. You will lose this bet. I hope you adjust your cat's diet after UFC 200 because I'm expecting a video from you. It's going to be a nasty one. Eat Me Reddit. This one's from Eat Me Reddit. Hi, Faraz. When I first heard of this fight, my prediction is that Hunt would knock him out by timing an uppercut when Lesnar shoots for the double. But I'm no expert. What do you think? Yes, he did a beautiful uppercut on Roy Nelson, but Roy Nelson's ability to breach the distance is not the same as Brock's. And yes, uppercuts happen. It can happen. I hold that possibility as between 5 and 10%. I don't give it more than that. When you have a classic striker versus a classic grappler, usually I go with the wrestler, but the wrestler now in this case even has more athleticism than the striker. I give it even more again to the wrestler Brock Lesnar in this case. The uppercut can happen. It's a puncher's chance, like they say. Not very likely. Honestly, in my opinion, not very likely. I think the takedown is more likely to happen. Again, I never know. Hunt has surprised me in the past. He surprised us all, so you never know. He definitely has the KO power. This question is from Ultimate77. Hello, Mr. Zahabi. Big fan of your gym and team. The last people to defeat Mark Hunt were people who could mix their striking well with their takedowns. Example is Fabricio Verdum feinting a takedown with a knee and Stipe Miocic with his jabs into takedowns, tiring Hunt in the process. Do you think Brock Lesnar will have a tough time taking Hunt down because he doesn't mix his strikes with takedowns as well as Miocic or Verdum? Or do you think that Brock's explosive athleticism will be enough? Well, let me ask you this. Who has Brock not taken down? Who has Brock not taken down? Well, I can't remember if he didn't take down Overeem. He didn't take down Overeem, but again, in my opinion, it's because Overeem was too big, too strong. He didn't take down Kane, if I remember correctly. I'd have to review that. I haven't watched that fight in years, so don't quote me on that. I can't really remember that fight. I remember him taking down Shane Carwin. Now, Shane Carwin was tired and this and that. Now, I've trained Shane. I've personally trained Shane Carwin myself once or twice. To take a man like that down, you need heavy machinery. I mean, it's not an easy thing to do. So, if Shane Carwin is a 9 on 10 difficulty to take down, Hunt, in my opinion, is like a 3 or a 4. Now, not only did he take Shane Carwin down, he also took a beating from Shane in round 1. You guys all remember he took a lot of shots. He took a lot of shots before round 2. I mean, he survived it. It could have been stopped. I wouldn't have argued if they stopped the fight, but they didn't. Shows me that and don't forget, Shane Carwin's knockout power is just as devastating. I mean, I think he had like 9 KO wins in round 1 or 10, all in the round 1. I mean, the man I've trained this man before. I mean, they had to make special gloves for Shane Carwin. UFC had to make special gloves. I've held pads for Shane Carwin. It's absurd the power he has in his hands, the size of his hands. If you look at his wedding ring, it's like it's giant. The guy's abnormally huge and powerful. And Brock Lesnar is just as freak of an athlete. I think if he doesn't get hit hard to the body, I don't think he goes down easy. I'm not saying he can't get knocked out, but Brock's got a chin and he's got the heart. He's going to weather the storm. He's going to get into the legs. He's going to get on top. And unless he gets knocked out clean with one shot, and I'm holding it, the chances of that happening in round number 1, I would say, are 20% maximum. I'm being generous. So 80-20, let's say Brock Lesnar round 1. 80-20. Let's leave it at that for now, okay? He's going to get the fight to the ground. He doesn't need to mix in his strikes. He's quick enough. He's alert enough. And he has a margin of error. He has a chin that's good enough to make a few mistakes. And if he's on PEDs, and if you guys are all saying he's on PEDs, he's going to get that takedown too easily. But if he's natural and he's going to come in like the classic Brock Lesnar, if he comes in like, I mean, since the IV ban, and we all know that Brock has to cut from about 300 pounds. And I don't know if he was even higher than that because it's a short notice fight. But since the IV ban and since the USADA testing, we've seen a lot of fighters get upset. We've seen a lot of change in the UFC. How many of you would have believed me if before USADA I told you Michael Bisping's going to be the world champion? How many of you would have laughed at me? How many of you would have said, no way, he'll never even break the top 5. He's a top 10 guy, but no further. How many of you guys would have ridiculed me if I said that? Maybe a lot of you. How many? Look at the titles, how they've changed hands. And I'm not accusing anybody. I'm just saying that the IV, the weigh-ins are different. They're in the mornings now. The testing is different. All these factors have changed. They have changed the game. Now remember, I'm not a big believer in monstrous weight cuts. I think people should be weighed the day before and the day of the fight, and you shouldn't be allowed to gain more weight than a certain amount. Why? Because the spirit of the weigh-in, why do we have weigh-ins? Is because we want 2 people of the same size fighting each other. That's the whole reason why we do a weigh-in. If you're able to use technology and science and all these crazy things to be bigger than your opponent on fight night. So if I show up on fight night and I'm 15 pounds heavier than my opponent, 20 pounds heavier than him, that to me, you're not in the same weight class. You're sidestepping the rules. Now, I don't blame the fighters because the fighters are always going to do what the rules allow them to do. But I think that it's a failure on the state's part. It's a failure on the rule maker's part. Why have the weigh-ins in the first place? If the guy's going to be 15 pounds heavier, 20 pounds, why have a weigh-in? What's the point? Why can't I weigh out at 170 and him at 185? What's the difference? You're weighing in like that the next day. If you're going to use science and technology to bypass the spirit of the weigh-in, the rule makers of the weigh-in must figure it out that 2 guys of the same size step in the octagon. I don't care how you do it. Make sure that 2 guys, when they get in the octagon, they're the same size. Now, I think Brock Lesnar is going to be bigger. Now, I know Hunt has big weight cuts too. I've heard he does big weight cut. But the thing is, he's not a solid. I don't count fat so much. Yes, it can help, if you're on top. But generally speaking, it's a dead weight. Fat is dead weight. Okay, Brock is a very different 300 pounds. He's a very different 265. Okay, he's a muscular 265. He's a solid 265. He's a functional 265. He's going to be more powerful, more athletic. He's going to move better. My opinion, he doesn't need to mix in the strikes. It would be great if he got to that point. If Brock got to that point where he can season himself enough that he could set up those takedowns, wow, he would be a beast. But I think just a good old-fashioned single to double is going to do it for him. This one's from A Great Human. All right, guys, just a few more here. Brock reacts poorly to getting hit. What can he do in such a short time to overcome this? You're right. He does flinch. He does look away. That's only doing rounds and rounds, and he doesn't have the time. You're 100% right. And these are real punches being thrown at him. But remember the Shane Carwin fight. You know, he took shots. You know, he takes shots. He's a guy who takes shots. When he fought Overeem, he took some shots, but remember he has that disease, that intestinal disease. And body shots are a different thing than taking shots on the chin. They're a very different thing. So again, you know, Overeem was hitting him and he was on PEDs. If you've ever been hit by a guy on PEDs, it's very different. It's very different. You know, they have more, I don't want to say they're better knockout power. I don't believe it gives you necessarily knockout power, but it makes you stronger. You know, it makes you more resilient. And I do believe it does increase your power. Absolutely. It'll increase your hitting power. You know, I don't have any research or tests on that, but I do believe it would for most people. For most people. So he doesn't have to be super elusive. I don't want to say it's an easy takedown, but I think he's gonna have an easy takedown. Now, if he doesn't, he's a sitting duck. But I'm hedging. I'm thinking he's gonna have an easy takedown. Maybe I'm wrong, but I think he's gonna get an easy takedown. Next one here, guys. This one is from Rev Rome. Since Brock is a blue belt now, do you think his BJJ training is mostly for offense or defense? Considering most time spent as a white belt defending various chokes. I think when Brock is rolling, he's not defending. He's not, you know, he's not trying to defend various chokes. Remember, wrestlers are very seasoned on the ground. It's a myth. Jiu-jitsu guys have to do, when you train jiu-jitsu in your club, if you're not doing as much stand-up wrestling and jiu-jitsu on the ground, if you're not doing as much jiu-jitsu standing as you are on the ground, your jiu-jitsu is not very good for MMA, you know? Wrestlers train on standing up and they train on the ground. You take a high school wrestler, they train on the ground and they train standing up. Why do jiu-jitsu guys only train on the ground and then think they can go and compete in MMA? You're crazy. You know, in TriStar Jiu-Jitsu at our club, some days it's all on the ground, some days it's 90% standing up, and some days it's 50-50. But when we warm up, everybody warms up standing and on the ground. When we do our drills, guys, some guys they want to work on their stand-up. They're doing more stand-up stuff. This is an advanced class. You can kind of do your own thing. It's not just me. I teach technique in the advanced class, absolutely. But you also warm up with your own techniques. You play your own game. You know, we have a lot of liberty and a lot of room for you to take care of your own game, how you need to nurture your game. So Brock's just adding a new element, but he's very good on the ground already. You know, before he ever did any jiu-jitsu, I'm sure he was a very difficult guy to tap. Next one here is I Live Halo. How many rounds do you see this fight going? I think it's a maximum of 2 rounds. I think the bell might save Mark Hunt. You know, he's a tough guy. I think if he's on the ground, he could take a beating for 3-4 minutes. But I think round 2, it'll be the end. You know, I think it'll be the end. If it gets out of the first 2 rounds, I'm assuming that Brock didn't have time to get in shape, fight shape, and he's going to be a sitting duck for Hunt. He's going to be a sitting duck for Mark Hunt, yes. So first 2 rounds, I think it's going to be done. Let's see if Mark is able to get out of those first 2 rounds. I go Silverback. Everyone is talking about how Hunt will knock Brock out, but what do you think are the chances of Lesnar knocking Hunt out? Standing up, if you mean standing up, I would say 2%, 5%. I remember he landed a nice shot on, who was it again? Texas Crazy Horse. What was his name again? He hasn't fought in a long time. Yeah, that was in Minnesota. I remember George fought John Fitch that night. And I remember this was the first fight Brock had in UFC, and he tagged Texas Crazy Horse. His name's escaping me right now. And he knocked him back on his ass and put him in a backflip. I had never seen that before. I was quite shocked. I mean, he's got that power. But he doesn't have the timing and the skill to clip Mark Hunt's chin. Could happen though. It's a question of probabilities, but unlikely. Highly, highly unlikely. SC2 Assy, or I think you tried to spell sassy. Lesnar took a big punch from Carwin, survived, and ended up winning. If Hunt connects with Lesnar and knocks him down, can he withstand it? Yes, I think so. And I think if Hunt tries to get on top of him, he might get turned around. Brock will invert into a single leg and put Hunt on his back. I think Hunt, if he gets a knockdown, he should let Brock stand back up and try to tee off again. Again, I think he can take a few shots from Hunt. You know, he's a big, strong, solid, muscular, athletic freak. So I think Hunt would have to have a perfect night. BR Jones 994. Do you think Mark Hunt's ground game is rated badly? Yes, it is. It was rated very badly, and rightfully so. You know, he's never showed us anything other than the atomic butt drop that was effective on the ground. You know, I think he tried a key lock, paintbrush. His ground game is not very good. You know, and he doesn't need a very good ground game. He needs a very good wrestling defense. You know, I don't think he's the body type that can go and roll and kind of flow and learn. And I don't think he'll ever get there. You know, I don't think it's in his system. You know, I think he'd have to change his level of athleticism for ground game. You know, he would have to gain a tremendous amount of agility, body movement, body awareness to get good on the ground. You know, I think he's really far behind in the ground game. His best bet is to prep his wrestling and a few key elements on the ground, what to do in an emergency situation. But I don't think he's going to be playing spider guard, deep half guard, sweeps, butterfly. I don't think this is in the cards for Mark Hunt. You know, I think he's got to just focus on sprawling and being the perfect matador and escaping the single leg. That's what I think. Anything other than that, he's just going to get mauled by Brock. This is from Qatar. We are out of time, guys. This will be the last one. Mr. Qatar asks, could Hunt knock out a horse? Yes, he can. If Conan the Barbarian can do it, Mark Hunt can do it. I have no question about it. If you allowed a big sucker punch on the chin of a horse, I think the horse is going down, and Hunt knocks his teeth out. Literally breaks the jaw of a horse. He hits really hard. So, all right, guys, I want to thank you as always. Thank you to Reebok. Thank you, Quest Nutrition. Thank you very much. Remember to share, like, and comment as always. Thank you very much, and I'll see you in the next episode.